So we are continuing on with the Code of Ethics. And I have to laugh. I think that Joni and I thought this was going to take us the whole month, and I think we're going to do it in these 3
3
sessions.
times.
Yeah, which is just fine. So we actually might need to come up with something for the last two Mondays of the month. Which, by the way, you guys, next week is going to be just a general help desk with Joni. Just so you guys know. So we're going to be concentrating on articles 10 through 14, which are, they cover the duties to the public. So we've already gone over duties to other realtors and duties to our clients and customers. And again, the Code of Ethics are just the set of standards and business practices that the National Association of Realtors set, and they are enforced through our local boards. So that being the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors for us, of course. So just as a reminder, if you need to file a complaint, whether it be against another realtor, which is generally when you would file a complaint, make sure to see Joni or I, and we will help you with that, of course. All right, so articles, again, 10 through 14 are duties to the public. There are 26 substandards of practice in these articles. We're not going to go through all 26. We're just going to highlight the ones that we feel are most important. So Article 10, so let's go ahead and read it. Realtors shall not deny equal professional services to any person for reasons of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Realtors shall not be parties to any plan or agreement to discriminate against a person or persons on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And then same holds true in employment practices. So if a realtor is going to partake in employing an assistant, you cannot discriminate against those protected classes either. And then just to tack on to this, we really want to drive home the point on being consistent with our practices. So I don't know if anyone was on the Color of Law training last week from Julia Lachey, but she really honed in on this. And, as long as we're practicing consistently and treating all of our customers and clients the same, that's, a good example is, if when you're going to go out on a showing, if you meet somebody new, are you requesting that they provide a pre-approval first before you begin your working relationship with them? If you're going to require a pre-approval letter from a customer before you show them a property, you need to be consistent with that practice all across the board, no matter who you come in contact with. An example that Julia gave last week was her practice of doing buyer consultations. What I really appreciated about her point around this was, kind of being real with it, and that, there are some times that we don't necessarily feel like doing something. Maybe you were busy that day. Maybe you've got something on our mind. You want to cut your buyer consultation short. You want to cut your appointments short. We need to save, using these consistent practices saves us from ourselves, so if we treat one person one way, we need to treat the next person the same way. And we can, of course, acknowledge that there are times when we just are tired. We just don't feel like doing something, but we need to be consistent. It has nothing to do necessarily with anything other than fatigue, for example. So I think you guys have the point, though. Standard of practice, the first standard of practice in Article 10. When involved in the sale or lease of a residence, realtors shall not volunteer information regarding the racial, religious, or ethnic composition of any neighborhood, nor shall they engage in any activity which may result in panic selling. However, realtors may provide other demographic information. So do not attempt to describe the racial makeup of a neighborhood. So often I think this, probably comes more into play, if you've got a transferee or someone who's not familiar with a city and they want you to go ahead and describe what the neighborhood is like. We always need to be pointing, or a big question is this a safe neighborhood? We always need to be pointing people to third-party resources if they've got questions on neighborhoods. So biggest, I think crime actually is the biggest one that comes to mind. Crime stats, point them to the local police department, for example. But people need, go ahead.
One thing I'd like to add in here, it came up quite often about probably many years ago, but agents wouldn't talk about neighborhood, whether it was safe or things like that, but they would talk about the school systems. And this school system is better than that school system. And really, in a way, that's a hidden direction or a hidden bias in describing a neighborhood by what they really mean is this school or this neighborhood makeup is better than that neighborhood makeup according to the agent's opinion, so you stay away from describing the school systems. Just like Steph said, there are third parties that rank and rate and describe all of these.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Joni. The third standard of practice in Article 10, realtors shall not print, display, or circulate any statement or advertisement with respect to selling or renting of a property that indicates any preferences, limitations, or discrimination based on the protected classes. The point that I want to make here is 100%, if you have any questions about any marketing pieces, we don't require that you guys pass your marketing pieces along to us to approve before circulating. If you have any questions about something, please see Joni or I, or sorry. My phone is tied to my computer now, and I don't know how to get rid of that. Resume share. Anyway, please, if you have any questions about a marketing piece that you guys want to do that's kind of beyond like just sold or just listed postcards, it's always good practice to have somebody in leadership look at it. So either Joni or I, or Charlie or Diana or Mandy could look at it. So please know that we have had troubles.
And as Julia said in her thing, remember always to describe the property, not the potential buyer of the property.
Yes. That's pretty key in advertising, in our most notably our MLS descriptions. So another thing that if you have questions about how you've written an MLS description on one of your listings, have Joni or I look at it.
MLS will also review some of those. They'll flag them if they sound a little too discriminatory.
Okay. Yeah, a good example of that, you guys, would be, perfect for a small family. We don't want to pigeonhole who the buyer might be on a property by saying things like that. So, okay, moving on. Fourth standard of practice, as used in Article 10, real estate employment practices relates to employees and independent contractors providing real estate related services and the administrative and clerical staff directly supporting those individuals. So the code of ethics extends beyond the realtors and to anyone employed by the realtors and working on their behalf. This one, standard of practice 5, realtors must not use harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So this is a new adoption actually, and was just adopted and effective last November, definitely in the wake of George Floyd. And this extends beyond real estate practices and into our personal communications. So most notably online. So the National Association of Realtors acted quickly when they started seeing things on people's personal online pages and adopted this other standard of practice, which I thought was pretty great. Article 11. All right, I'm gonna go through this. So this is regarding reasonable skill and care. So services which we provide to our clients and customers shall conform to the standards of practice and competence which are reasonably expected in the specific real estate disciplines in which they engage. Specifically residential real estate brokerage, real estate property management, commercial and industrial real estate brokerage, land brokerage, real estate appraisal, real estate counseling, syndication, real estate auction, and international real estate. We shall not undertake to provide specialized professional services concerning a type of property or service that is outside of our field of competence. So biggest example, of course, always is commercial property. We've got so many questions about agents who want to service a commercial property listing, and we have to say no, and it's not, we don't want to say no. I mean, of course, we want everyone to have an opportunity to work, but this, we owe it to the public to practice in the realms in which we specialize. So those bigger property types, more complicated property types like commercial property, we do need to have you guys refer those to people who specialize in these fields, in these property types. And this also includes property that is outside our the areas in which we typically work. So a few times this year, I had agents who wanted to sell or list property in Door County. And same holds true. We need to be working with somebody who specializes in those areas. So, oftentimes our response is going to be, no, please refer this out to somebody who specializes in that area, or at least partner with them. And you'll have to work out something with that agent, and we'll always help you find agents to work with. This is just rehashing what I just said, but key points: be knowledgeable about the type of property being valued, have access to the information and resources necessary to formulate an accurate opinion, and be familiar with the area where the subject property is located. So we must act responsibly to the public. Article 12. There are 13 substandards in Article 12. So realtors shall be honest and truthful in their real estate communications and shall present a true picture in their advertising, marketing, and other representations. Realtors shall ensure that their status as real estate professionals is readily apparent in their advertising, marketing, and other representations, and that the recipients of all real estate communications are or have been notified that those communications are from a real estate professional. So biggest biggest example of this, definitely in our public online personas. So when we are advertising online, we need to make sure that it is clear that our advertising is coming from a realtor and a brokerage. So I think the biggest and best way to make sure that we are adhering to the standard of practice is having our brokerage right in our online handles. So if you've got your personal Facebook pages, then your professional Facebook pages or Instagram pages should have KW right in the handle. That is the easiest way to make sure that we are adhering to this policy. Not required, but that is suggested, highly, highly suggested. Standard of practice 5, realtors shall not advertise nor permit any person employed by or affiliated with them to advertise real estate services or listed property in any medium, electronically, print, radio, television, without disclosing the name of that realtor's firm in a reasonable and readily apparent manner. So what I had just said. And there are fines associated with this. I'm actually going to quickly pull it up because I think it's $100 for the first offense. And that was just put into place in February of this year. So the GMER are policing this online. Standard of practice 6, realtors when advertising unlisted real property for sale or lease in which they have an ownership interest shall disclose their status as both owners or landlords and as realtors or real estate licensees. So many of us have investment property, and when advertising our own personal investment property, trying to secure a tenant, we must disclose that we are a realtor as well as the owner. Standard of practice 7. Only realtors who participated in the transaction as the listing broker or the cooperating broker may claim to have quote unquote sold the property. Prior to closing, a cooperating broker may post a sold sign only with the consent of the listing broker. So there's actually a case right now that Diana is investigating. Someone not from Keller Williams, a cooperating brokerage, sent out a piece, a mailer, advertising that he had sold Lake property and did not credit the brokerages who had really sold the property. So I think Diana's working to file a complaint on that. But that's a good example. So someone who's trying to secure business out in Lake Country, he said that he sold a number of houses that he was not actually involved in the transaction. So huge violation. So
he wasn't on either side of the transaction.
Yeah.
Bold
is right. And then, yeah, this doesn't happen too often, I don't think, but if you get the consent from a listing broker, you can put up a sold sign after that listing brokerage's sign comes down. You can put up your own and have it up for a time being. So you would need the consent of the new owner as well. Article 13, short and sweet. Realtors shall not engage in activities that constitute the unauthorized practice of law and shall recommend that legal counsel be obtained when the interest of any party to the transaction requires it. So we say it all the time, and we say it to our clients and to our customers. We are not attorneys and we cannot give legal advice. Article 14. So these articles and standards of practices relate to when complaints are filed. So if charged with unethical practice or asked to present evidence or to cooperate in any other way in any professional standards proceeding or investigation, Realtor shall place all pertinent facts before the proper tribunals of the member board or affiliated institute, society, or council in which the membership is held, and shall take no action to disrupt or obstruct such processes. So again, the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors oversees our professional standards hearings. There are arbitration processes, mediation processes that, again, if you find yourself, I apologize again. So yes, if you guys ever find yourself needing to file a complaint, or if you found yourself with a complaint filed against you, please see Joni or I immediately, and we will help you through this process. I'm still learning it myself, so I've only had to see or assist with one so far. Which, as we, get more years under my belt here, I will have more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then there is a PDF of the Code of Ethics that you can download through the gmar.com. I am going to try and have Charlie send the PDF in tomorrow's recap. And then additionally, the Pathways to Professionalism, which the GMAR adopted, just additional courtesies that are beyond the Code of Ethics that we are stressing and have gone over many times, but just more simple courtesies around showings and offer presentation. So, all right, I'm going to stop my share. I'd love to know if anybody has any questions or comments. Short today.
I have a question regarding that whole lakefront property thing you mentioned.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in either part of the transaction at all?
No.
So like if I represent the buyer, you'd still be able to do something similar as long as you worked with the buyer?
How would the messaging have to go? I mean, it could be, Joni, if you want to help me out with this, if you're going to do something like that, I think it would be just describing how the market is doing, and not necessarily saying that you had any part of the transaction. You're just giving an informational piece on how the market in a particular area is doing. So
But you can't use a specific property.
Yeah.
You can talk about the general area, but you can't use a specific property unless you had something to do with it or you had permission from the listing broker.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you are, say, on the sale side, the buyer's agent side of a deal, you can promote that in your flyers or in your advertising that you sold that property. So you don't have to just be the listing agent to say that you sold a property. If you're the buyer's agent, you're allowed to say that you also sold that property. And as the Code of Ethics has in there, you can even put up a sign if you want, but that you do have to get permission from the listing agent to put up a sign. But there's
Okay.
nothing holding you back from stating that you sold those properties if you did.
Yeah.
Just
So
can't
even on the
do it
buy
if you
side,
didn't.
you could send out a just sold postcard, but you would need permission
Exactly.
from the listing agent. Okay.
You don't need permission for that. You just need permission if you wanted to put up a sold sign in the yard.
Got it.
But you could send out a neighborhood thing saying that you sold this if you were the buyer side.
Yeah,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
yeah,
And you'll
Yeah.
probably, sometimes you get a little kickback from the listing agent who hoots and hollers about it, but we just have to remind them that you have the right to do so.
Okay.
Anything else? Any general questions?
Not for me. I already talked to Joan once today.
I don't have anything either, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia.
Good.
Tequila, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, you pronounced it correct. I don't have anything either.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys. And just a heads up, we're gonna be doing a abbreviated, even more abbreviated version of this in tomorrow's meeting. So bear with us and just sit through it again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.